Excellent. Hello and welcome to the Misco Expo 2013. My name is Michael Sweeney. This is Michael Cox.
Good morning.
I'm from HP Networking. Been with HP Networking for about 3 years now. And Michael?
I'm with HP Networking pre-sales, and again about 3 years with HP.
So should we get things straight at the start? I'm the commercial guy. He's the technical guy. Easy questions, hard questions. But please, I want this to be as interactive as possible. And what we're going to talk about today is what has undoubtedly become one of the buzzwords in this industry, BYOD. But we're going to take a little bit of a spin on it. Walking around the expo today, you'll see lots of lovely, shiny, brand new, thin, slick, high battery power client devices. But what that actually creates for IT managers is a number of challenges around your infrastructure, around security, around how you manage those clients, how you manage those users, and how you provision your corporate resources to those individual devices. So, bring your own device. I know you've heard a lot about it over the years, but it simply cannot be ignored. Just some stats up here. First of all, Gartner have predicted over 90% net new growth in device adoption over the next 4 years. Obviously, the majority of that growth is represented by smartphones and tablets. Personally, I don't know how many internet-capable devices are in this room. I've got a laptop, my 2 smartphones, the tablets down on the stand. We cannot ignore this impact. To follow on from that, it's estimated by IDC that approximately 4.5 billion personal client devices will be on the corporate network by 2015.
So I'd just like to do a brief little survey at this point. So how many of you currently have some form of wireless network? So this could just be a single AP. So most of you have got wireless to some degree in this room. So just an interesting little thing. How many of you know for a fact that there are people that have got personal devices connected to that network that shouldn't be? So pretty much all of you. How many think that there might be that have devices on there, but you don't know if they have or not? Okay, so most of you know that you've got personal devices on the networks that you don't really want to be on there. You've kind of lost the control of them. So that's quite interesting to see that it's a little bit of a problem in this room. So hopefully, as we go through today, we can talk you through sort of the various options that we have to enable you to secure that.
Now, BYOD as a concept means very different things to different people. To some people, it's allowing staff or students to access the internet on their personal devices in their own time, outside of corporate hours. At the other end of the scale, there's employee-owned devices with full access to corporate resources that are enabling the transition towards a mobile workforce. I'm sad to say it, but the days of the 9 to 5 are gone, and I'm working whenever I'm within 10 yards of my smartphone, which has its advantages in terms of productivity and cost for the company. It doesn't have its advantages in terms of social life, but that's another matter altogether. Now, to move on from this, there's a bold prediction from Gartner that by 2016, only one wire will be required for employee workspaces, and that's the power connector. We're seeing massive growth in mobile devices. We're seeing pervasive Wi-Fi everywhere. Last night when we tried to set up our live demo on the HP stand down there, how many wireless networks did we find?
There was a good couple of dozen, probably getting on for 40, 50 different wireless networks we were finding broadcast.
The challenges this presents are numerous to businesses, to network managers. Excuse me. But what are the challenges? So many devices, so many different types of devices, so many different operating systems, versions of operating systems, so many different users with different levels of skills. One issue, I don't know if we've got it, I haven't connected to the wireless yet, but we'll no doubt find as this event heats up that the access points we see dotted around the room are going to start to struggle. There's going to be drop connections, there's going to be slow connections, there's going to be security risks posed. When you get however many thousand geeks in a room, there are security risks posed. We need to find a simple a unified way of addressing the security and management challenges that come from validating and onboarding these numerous devices. We need to be able to health check devices and make sure that they don't pose a threat to our corporate network, the thing that we all work so hard to build and keep secure. We also need to make sure that our users are actually enabled by this technology. There's no point in us providing a locked down, secure wireless network and yeah, you can bring any device if you want, but it's going to take you 10 years to get signed off and 5 years to sign on. It doesn't work.
So if we look at some of the problems that have come around with the growth of BYOD, a lot of it stems from the problems with the legacy network architecture itself. So I'm guessing the vast majority of you that are doing BYOD at the moment or having some form of guest access are just generally using a guest SSID with just a pre-shared key on there. Now, generally this isn't a very secure way. I travel around a lot of different companies, end up in a lot of offices. The first thing you do when you sit down, you go to the guy next to you and go, have you got the wireless key? And more often than not, they go, yeah, sure, here it is. Or you go to reception, go, can I get on the Wi-Fi? They hand you a little slip of paper, and generally you'll find if that's only for the guests, the person you're going to see go, oh, did they give you the Wi-Fi key at reception? And you go, yeah, and you hand it over. And suddenly, before you know it, everyone is suddenly on the wireless network. There's an interesting little story. One of the partners I visit on a regular basis, they've got a guest network set up purely for vendors like myself coming in. It's 250 available addresses, so potentially 250 people could connect. I was one of 4 vendors in that day, but couldn't connect because there were already 250 devices on their wireless network, and they didn't realise this until I went to them with a problem saying I couldn't connect. So it is a big problem. The solution they had to that was to change the key. So they changed it over to a different pre-shared key. A couple of weeks later, everyone's got that new key, everyone's got their phones, got their tablets connected back to it. So, you know, we can't carry on like this. And a lot of those problems comes from the fundamental problems with legacy networks not really supporting much beyond this. So we want to start to move to a system that is not just based on pre-shared key, but actually user aware. So we're looking at individual users logging onto our network so we can get some form of authentication. If we're having guest accounts, looking at individually authenticated guest accounts and having some form of expiry in there. So when we have a guest, they can connect for the day. You know, if they come back at 3 o'clock in the morning, sit in your car park and try and check their email, they're not going to be able to connect to that. So there are some wireless networks out there that are doing that at the moment, you know, setting up user authentication, but we can't really go beyond that. You know, we're certainly talking about a plethora of new devices out there. Do we necessarily want someone to have the same level of access to our systems on, say, a tablet as we want them to have on a laptop, for instance? Do we want them to have access on their smartphone at all? Is there any business value to them connecting on their smartphone? Are they going to check their emails? Are they going to access corporate apps? No, chances are they're checking their Facebook, you know, browsing, YouTube, whatever at lunchtime or potentially when they're supposed to be working. So there might not be any value in that. We might not want to allow personal devices on at all. We might have a strategy, for instance, where we're issuing laptops, we're issuing tablets, and we want those devices to be connected. However, if people are bringing in their own devices, we might want to block that altogether. So it's almost an anti-BYOD, and we need some way of controlling. If we're going to let someone connect a corporate laptop, how do we then stop them connecting a personal laptop, even if they've got logon credentials? And a lot of the legacy networks don't tend to address this. You'll tend to find a lot of solutions out there. We have disparate wired and wireless networks. So you'll tend to find there's a lot more wireless vendors in the marketplace than there is wired vendors at the moment. There's a lot of people doing some very clever things out there, but they tend to be very much overlay solutions. There's a lot of companies focused on just the wireless element. And I think we've become a bit paranoid over the years. We all see sort of wireless networks as being the entry point, as being insecure. However, we've tended to neglect the wired network. You know, how many of you on your networks currently could I just walk in with a laptop, get a network cable, plug into the wall and be issued an IP address? Guessing quite a lot of you. Again, we've tended to neglect this, and it's one of those things that we spent so much time securing the wireless, we forgot it's actually very easy to get into your network with a hard wire. So HP is one of the few vendors in the marketplace that offer a unified wired and wireless solution. So we offer a whole host of wired networking products, all the way down from, sort of small business and home user, right the way up to sort of massive FTSE 100, Fortune 500 companies, big data center type projects, and everything in between. And we also have, wireless that scales right down from 2-3 managed access points for a small office, right the way up to our largest solutions that can support over 8,000 access points. So we've really got the scale in there. We can tie that together and we can have a unified single wired and wireless management platform. So this means from a management perspective and a security perspective, everything is unified. We're not having to use 2 separate systems to do this. If you look at the way we're currently managing wireless networks, there tends to be a huge amount of human middleware in there as well. So one of the ways that people have currently looked to tackle BYOD is with MDM, mobile device management. So there's a lot of people out there that see MDM as sort of the be-all and end-all of mobile devices, because it's great. We install a piece of software on the device, we can lock down the device, we can block what they have access to, block them installing apps. And MDM is great, but it's only good in certain situations. So if you've got a corporate issued device, so if you are a corporation issuing iPads or HP Slates or whatever tablet or phone you're issuing, that's fine. It's your device, you own it, lock it down however you want. When you get into a situation where you're asking people to bring in their nice shiny iPads and new phones, which is their home personal device, and go, actually, if you want to connect to our network, we want to install this piece of software on here, and potentially we can remote wipe it, we can monitor what you do, and we can block you doing things. Some people tend to get a bit funny about that and go, well, no, this is my device, I don't really want you installing that software on there. So then we have this battle between the individual user and the IT department, where the IT department are going, no, this is my network, if you want to come on, you're installing this software, and you've got the user going, no, this is my device, I'm not going to connect to your network if I've got to install this. So we need to look at a solution which keeps the IT manager happy, but will also keep the user happier and really enable business value. So SANS did a survey back in 2012, questioning IT managers about what their top priorities were around BYOD. So we got a whole host of answers back. So the 3 top priorities that we came out with from this were centralized functionality. So this was right at the top of the list. They wanted one central point to manage this. They didn't want to have loads of separate tools, loads of overlay systems, lots of software they'd got to manage and set up and troubleshoot. They just wanted one place that they could go and completely manage their wired and wireless needs and all the security. The next most important thing was logging, reporting, monitoring. Now, as we've already established, a lot of you have users on your network. A lot of you might not know how many users you've got on the network. You might be able to see individual IP addresses. You probably don't know who those individuals are. You might not even know the device types. So it's really important that when we are connecting people onto our networks, we know who's connecting, when they're connecting, the types of devices they're connecting. This can also drill down into potentially the types of applications they're using, the amount of bandwidth they're consuming. You might have certain users that are using very high bandwidth applications and potentially affecting performance for the rest of the network. You might have people that are streaming YouTube videos or doing personal stuff on either corporate or personal devices, which is actually slowing down business applications. So this logging and reporting piece is very important.
Just to pick up on that, actually, when some of you came into the room, I got the chance to shake your hand, find out a little bit about your business, and to pick up on 2 of the conversations I had. One of the guys in the room sells into large banking organisations, and this logging, monitoring and reporting isn't just key for your own sanity, for your own IT department, but sometimes for regulations. You need to show who accessed the network, when, what did they access, how did they get onto the network, what device did they use, were they meant to be there, were the corporate resources meant to be, were they stored correctly. And another guy in here has a mobile workforce, and with that mobile workforce you need a degree of control. You need to be seeing that they are doing what they're paid to do. You need to be seeing that they are accessing the resources they're meant to access with the devices they're meant to use. And another dimension to logging, monitoring and reporting is not just going to directors with a bit of paper that says your network's overworked and you need more switches, but the compliance side of things as well, and the regulatory environment that we all operate in. This is a major concern for a lot of not just your businesses, but your customers' businesses as well.
So what are we doing around BYOD? So we're offering a complete BYOD solution. So this can start off, very small. If you come and speak to us on the stand later, we can show you some of the technologies we've got available. Really we can start off with just having secured guest access. So this is something that's built in as standard with all our wireless controllers. So if you just want to have simple authenticated logons, if you want to have integration into Active Directory so that each user can log on, we can do that as standard with all of our wireless products. If you want the ability to provide registered guest accounts, so this means either when people come into the building, they can go up to reception, go, "Hi, I'm Joe Bloggs, I'm here for a meeting, can I have wireless access?" We can immediately sort of generate a unique log on for that person that will expire at the end of the day or week or year or however long you want to grant that for. We can do batch accounts as well. So say for instance, if you're hosting a big event like this, you've got 100 or maybe even 1,000 people coming. You don't really want every person showing up at reception having to individually create a log on. We can create accounts in advance, so we can go, give us, 200 wireless logons for a week next Thursday that will be valid for 4 hours. We can pre-generate those, we can print out all the keys, we can have everything ready to go, but the accounts won't become active until the time we actually specify. We can even take it a step further. We can actually go for sort of a paid wireless or a subscription type service. I'm sure all of you have stayed in a Premier Inn or a Travelodge and paid £60 a night or whatever ridiculous amount they want to charge you for wireless. I don't think it's that bad anymore. It all seems like a ridiculous amount. Unfortunately, I have to say we're the ones that enable that type of technology. It's great if you're on the other end of it. We have mechanisms built into the controllers themselves that integrate with WorldPay and PayPal. All you need to do is set an account with those, pick your subscription plans, and we can create an SSID that allows users to automatically log in, pick their subscription plan. They're redirected to one of these sites, so it's all PCI DSS compliant, so you don't have to worry about storing payment card information. As soon as that's authenticated transaction, you get the money paid into your account. They're granted access to the wireless network. So it's a great way if you're into the hospitality industry, if you tend to rent out meeting rooms at the weekends. It's a great way for sort of additional income. That's all included as standard with your controllers. Very simple to set up, doesn't require any interference from IT. Once it's set up, people can go on, access the device automatically. You don't even need to be there. So this is all the stuff we're doing as standard. This isn't really getting into any of the advanced stuff we're doing. Moving beyond that, this is where we start getting into the user aware and device aware. So we can do user aware just on the controllers. As part of our BYOD platform, we can really take that to the next level. So we're not just looking at the individual user, but we're also looking at the device type as well. Remember what we were saying earlier, we don't necessarily want someone to have the same access on their laptop as they do on their tablet. So now when a user logs in, we're not just assigning them access to resources based on who they are, we're actually assigning access based on who they are and the particular device they're using as well. So we can make a differentiation between a corporate laptop and a personal laptop, or a personal laptop and a tablet, or a smartphone, or a company-owned smartphone, or a personal phone. So we really do have that granular level of detail, and you as an administrator can decide what is going to be most beneficial to your company. What does my IT policy look like? What does my BYOD policy look like? How am I going to use this technology? And this is a great way of limiting access and restricting access to your network without going to a user and going, right, can you install this piece of software so I can block and monitor what you want to do? So we've got the whole monitoring piece built into there as well. As I said, we have the unified wired and wireless network, so one of the only vendors that has a wired and a wireless offering that are seamlessly integrated together from a management and security perspective. Now, where we're going in the future is all around our SDN strategy. So if you've been reading sort of various tech blogs and in the news recently, you can't have missed software-defined networking. So HP are the industry leaders in this field. We have over 30 million devices that have currently shipped, supporting OpenFlow, which is a protocol that runs software-defined networking. and our wireless is capable of supporting this as well. So what you're going to see in the future is what we class as virtual application networks. So this is being able to take individual sessions on your wireless and do some very clever things. So run them through IPS technology, look for potential threats on there. A lot of the way we're doing security at the moment relies very much on take all your traffic, run it through some sort of firewall or IPS device. And that's not particularly efficient. Generally, if you're looking at high bandwidth, you're talking very expensive appliances. What we can do with software-defined networking is look at individual traffic streams and just sample off the ones that don't fit normal traffic patterns or are of particular interest to us. If we've got certain users we're suspicious of, we could just redirect certain users through a security appliance. We don't necessarily need to do everyone. We can also, as we said, modify these traffic flows on the fly. So potentially, if you've got very sensitive voice or video applications that are running across network, rather than just relying on traditional QoS policies, we can actually add an individual device, user, and even session level, redefine those networking flows and look for the most optimal paths through the network. So some very exciting things happening in the future around software-defined networking.
Just to return 1 second to the conflict between the IT department and the user when we haven't thought out our BYOD strategy. Our solution is designed to take a user on a journey through onboarding onto the network, being provisioned the correct resources, and allowing you to monitor their usage, make sure they're getting the right level of service from the corporate network. What it means to you as IT managers is that the HP solution is simple, scalable, and secure. The glue that holds all this together, the real jewel in the crown of HP networking today, is our single pane of glass management program, IMC, Intelligent Management Center. And this is a true multi-vendor device management platform. It manages over 6,000 devices from Juniper, Cisco, Aruba, Brocade, you name it. It can see inside your virtual machines. It can manage wired and wireless and apply the same policies consistently across the entire infrastructure. And as Michael was touching on there, with the advent of software-defined networking, this is your control panel for physical and virtual networks.
I say this really is sort of a one-stop shop for everything you'd want to do on your networking. If you look at some of our competitors have over 25 separate tools to do everything that we can do on IMC. So this is really your base platform, so this is the heart of your network. So you can grow and scale this, and it gives you a lot of flexibility on how you want to do this. So, yes, sorry, had a question.
Are you saying that I don't have to have HP ProCurve switches throughout my network for IMC?
Absolutely.
No.
So the last person to buy IMC from one of our partners, in a deal that I was involved in, was to manage an entirely Cisco-based network. Now, obviously, Cisco market leaders, they're fantastic at what they do in certain markets, but the way that they've grown over the years and the way that they've acquired that market share is by having disparate management tools. One for your Meraki wireless, one for your Nexus core, one for your Catalyst Edge. And the Cisco Works platform does what it says on the tin, but it doesn't give you the right level of visibility across your entire network. I mean, no one's network grows in the way that we expected it to. If we take on a new office that's got Netgear infrastructure, if we inherit some Dell servers or some some ProCurve switches, some Comware, X3Com switches, this can manage them from a single pane of glass. So you'll get a full network topology view, and you can push policies out across the entire network, regardless of what badge is on the front of the box. So I won't go into it now because it's a 5-hour presentation in itself, but essentially this is the bedrock of our software-defined networking strategy. If you think about what happened to servers 10 years ago. 10 years ago you had pizza box servers and you managed them as individual boxes. How many people in here have got a virtualized server farm now? Most of you? Certainly the vast majority of you. And you wouldn't think twice of provisioning your server resources through a piece of software at the front end, regardless of whether you've got 5 Dells, Cisco UCS, HP Blade system. It doesn't really matter. The way you allocate those resources to users and applications is through a piece of software. Why not do the same with networking? Does it not make your life simpler? Does it not make your infrastructure more flexible? Does it not give you the ability to have better visibility and control of your infrastructure? We're doing exactly the same. What's this doing at the back end? Sending control, what would have been 20 lines of command line to individual switches. It's not actually that complex. But you don't need to know them, and you don't need to type them, because IMC knows them.
So as we said, we've got a lot of flexibility in the way we can grow this. So you have a lot of functionality in the base platform itself, but as you want to move on to more advanced things, as we want to start to integrate the whole BYOD piece, as we want to maybe get into managing our WAN networks, maybe managing MPLS infrastructure, this is all done through plugins. So if you look at the way a lot of users or a lot of companies work, this will be done through separate management tools. So what we do with plugins is we effectively expand the capabilities of this tool. So it's not a piece of software hidden inside another piece of software. This is a truly integrated plugin. You put the plug in, you start getting more menu items, things in IMC where you used to right click and you used to see a little bit of information. Add the extra plug-in, now when you right click you see lots more information. So these are deeply integrated into the base platform itself. So some of the key ones we have to enable bring your own device are UAM. So UAM is really the starting point. So this is user access manager. So this is what's doing all the clever, user aware, device aware piece and doing the ultimate registration onto the network. If we're a bit more paranoid, if we want to posture check the devices, so check that the devices that are coming onto our network meet a minimum security standard. So we want to check things, I've got an up-to-date operating system patches on there. If we want to check there's firewall and antivirus running, we might want to prohibit the use of certain programs on there. So for instance, if people are running file sharing applications, we might want to stop that. We can really do that with endpoint admission defense. Once we get into the monitoring piece, there's already a lot of monitoring built into the base platform. So looking at individual user logons, we can look at the amount of bandwidth being used, some of the resources being accessed. If we want to go and do full layer 7 analysis, so we want to see the individual applications people are using, potentially even the websites that they're visiting as well, this can be done through the NTA plugin. So you've really got the flexibility. It depends how much information you want, how much you want to control the network, how you build and scale this application out. If we want to do full end-to-end analysis, so we need to look at who are the biggest users on the network, who are the biggest users of a particular application, who's the biggest user of particular websites. We need a complete audit log. So this is really good for compliance as well. So if we need to go back, for the past 5 years and tell you exactly when every user logged on, exactly what applications they accessed, what websites they visited, when they disconnected, how much bandwidth they used, and you want to store all that information, you're going to need a massive database in the back end to hold it all. But we can do all of that. So that is through our UAM module. And we've also got the wireless services manager. So if you want to, we do have basic wireless management built into the IMC base platform, but if you want to do all the clever things that we've just announced in our new MSM version 6 platform, so there's the integrated IDS functionality that's built in to the access points as standard now, the really clever sort of radio resource management, so all the sort of co-channel interference, automatic power management. If you want to be able to monitor and control that through IMC, you can do that with the WSM plugin. But you don't necessarily need the WSM plugin to enable BYOD. It will still work without it. So that's not necessarily an essential point. That just gives you that optional extra functionality should you really want to sort of drill down into that whole RF management piece in there.
I'm conscious that Shepherd's Crook is going to pull me by the neck off stage in the next few moments. So Michael was going to go in a little bit of detail on some of the individual modules within the IMC platform, such as user access manager, access rules based on what the user does, what device they're using, the device fingerprinting where IMC will discover what type of device is trying to access the network and set rules accordingly. We touched on all these modules. I think what's best, given that the IMC software is so flexible and can be, you can pick and choose the modules you want. It'll fit your infrastructure regardless of what vendor you've traditionally bought your kit from, what software you're running on it. I think what's best really is if we start to wrap up now and come down to our stand and see it working. We've got a few switches set up there. We've got some wireless set up. We can show you the interface, give you a feel for what it looks like, and suggest how it could help your business. We'll pick up on some individual things at that point. So just to conclude, why IMC BYOD? So HP offers a full end-to-end from client device through infrastructure all the way to management BYOD solution. It offers you simple, secure and scalable management of your network infrastructure through the single pane of glass that is IMC, centralizing security and putting the power in your hands. It will automate the onboarding of users, devices, provision the correct corporate resources to them and monitor them once they're on the network. Like I say, we are out of time, but I would like to take some questions, so please come talk to us afterwards. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.